Welcome back, guys. Hope you all doing great. In the previous sessions, we did successfully finish our server-side coding, and today's in this session, we're going to build the authentication part by using the Gmail authentication, the React navigation, and the Redux store, and all those things that we're going to do within the today's sessions. Basically, we're going to create the Redux store to store our user object, and we're going to use the Google authentication provided by the Firebase, and we're going to integrate the Firebase with this project, and we're going to use the Sanity to store the logged in user successfully inside our Sanity platform. Okay, so if I hit this login option, he will be navigated to the separate page, and if I click this login, and he will logged in successfully, the place loaded, it's loaded successfully, and he will head back to the home page again, and that will display the user detail over here. And if I click this option, I will have this bunch of menu options, and if I click logout, the user will be successfully logged out from there. Even if I'm refreshing, it doesn't matter if your data you don't have to log in again and again, and I'm not saving any details in the local storage, so you can keep your complete storage empty. Inside the local storage, we don't have any objects open here. All right, so we don't have any objects over here. Completely it's empty, so we don't store anything in the local storage. Everything is completely stored lively. So this is what we're going to keep it in our, so we're going to discuss in the today's session, and you can see we are going to keep all the details in the Redux store, and we are going to use the developer tools to monitor our Redux stores and everything. So that's what we're going to do in the today's session. So without wasting your time, let's jump into the video. Okay then, so let's open up our Visual Studio Code, and I'm going to delete this readme.md. Let me delete this, and let me open my terminal, and we need to navigate into our client folder. So cd client, so that will take us inside the client folder. Then all we have to do is to say yarn create react app dot slash. So I need to download all the files necessary for the React applications inside this particular folder. So if I press enter, so that will download all the React files which is related to the React applications inside this folder. So let it download, and we're going to use the Tailwind CSS for our React application. So go to the browser and search for Tailwind CSS with React application. So that will take you to this web page. So click that, and here you can find all the necessary instructions to download and configure the Tailwind CSS with your project. So it's still downloading, so let's wait until it gets done. So I'm going to pass this. Once it's done, I'm going to resume back. All right then, so now the React application is successfully downloaded, and if you expand this folder, and here you can see all the necessary files. So let's clean up this code a little bit. So here I don't need this app.css, so let me delete the app.css, and I don't need this setup.js, so let me delete that one too, and I don't need this report vital, so let me delete that one too, and I don't need this logo svg also, so let me delete that too. All right, so let's delete this app.test.js, delete it. And let's go back to the index.js over here. So let's clean up this a bit, delete this, and we don't need this one, and we don't need, okay, all right, that's fine. So save the changes, and let's get back to the app.js, and inside the app.js, so we don't need this anything at all. So let's delete this, and let's delete the, and here I'm just going to say h1 like app or something, save changes. So now all we have to do is to go ahead and download the Tailwind CSS. So let's copy this line. We already created the React application, so let me copy it from here, and I'm just going to say clear the terminal and yarn add, let me make it bigger. All right, so now I hope you can see it much better. So yarn add, paste it, so -d Tailwind CSS, so that will download the Tailwind CSS and install it in our machine. So it's downloading, loading. Actually, I'm feeling my machine is a bit slow today, I don't know why. Right, still it's downloading, so please wait until it's successfully downloaded. It will done in less than a minute or less than 30 seconds also. It depends on your network speed or your operating system speed. right, so it's done. And now what I need to do is I need to initialize the Tailwind CSS. So yarn Tailwind CSS init. So this will initialize our Tailwind CSS and it will create the tailwind.config.js in our root folder. Still loading, and here we go. So we have our tailwind config.js over here, and all I have to do is to copy this content from here, copy it, and I have to replace it over here. Save the changes. Then all we have to do is to copy this line from here and open up your index.css and paste that line over at the top of it. Paste it. So then what we have to do is to so before moving further, all we have to do is we need to download two different extensions to work much faster with your Tailwind CSS. So you need to download the Tailwind CSS IntelliSense, and you need to download the React snippets. So we need to download both extensions. So search for Tailwind CSS. So if you're searching for Tailwind CSS, so that will gives you the Tailwind CSS IntelliSense. So you can able to download that, this one, Tailwind CSS IntelliSense. So you need to go ahead and download it and install it in your machine. So this will provides you the suggestions when you're writing the Tailwind CSS. So it will give you the suggestions of your utility classes. So then you need to install the React snippets. So if you search for React snippets, so that will gives you the ES7 React snippets, so which helps you to write all kind of React applications much faster and in a better way. All right, so please go ahead and install these two different extensions. So then what we have to do is to, let me close this, and I don't need this anymore. Let me close this, and here I need to make sure whether this app is completely working fine or not. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take this class name because the class name is not available, and I'm going to say width screen and hatch screen, width screen and hatch screen. It's loading this much. All right, so then I'm going to keep the class name for this. It's loading too much. Class name, so text 3XL, and I'm just going to keep the text to blue color. Save the changes. So now let's go ahead and write the command yarn start. So that will trigger the our development server. So it's loading. All right, so we ran into an error. Actually, what's an issue? app.css. All right, because we deleted this line. So let me delete this, and let me delete everything, and let me say RAFCE, and here let's type that class name is equals to, let's say, width screen, touch screen, and inside here let's change this to h1, and let's change this to app. Save the changes, and now let me make sure text 2XL or 3XL something, and text to blue 400 something. Let's save the changes, and you can see that now it's successfully working. So we successfully configured the Tailwind CSS inside our application, and it's working so far so good. All right, so the next part what we have to do is we have to create our main navigation. So if you see here, we have different navigations options over here. If I click this, it will take me to the upload, and if I click this, that will taking to me my collections folder and my media folder. So these are different sets of navigations, right? So we need to create our main navigations first. So let's go ahead and do that main navigation. All right, so let me delete this line, and I'm going to add few more lines over here. So let's say we need to arrange everything in the column directions over here. So let me keep this flex and flex column and item center, and justify it should be in the starting position. All right. So inside here, now what we need to do is, so this is the place where we need to load our header tag, header, and this it's our main content section. All right, this is our main content section. So if you notice here, we have our header section over here, and we have this main content section, which is displaying this banner image over here, and it's displaying this the remaining sections over here. So the header is going to remain the same. The rest, everything is going to change constantly. That's what we're going to do really. All right, so let's go ahead and do that. So for the header, we have to create a new header component. So let's leave it as it is. And for the time being over here, I'm just going to keep it as the main tag. Let's name it as a main tag. And for the main tag, it's going to be width full. Of course, it's going to take the complete width, and height also, it should take the complete height. Whatever the available height, should take it. Flex and everything should be in the center location, and everything should be in the center. Justify both vertical and horizontal, it should be in the center. All right, so here I'm just going to say we need to create all our routes over here, the routes navigations. So to add our routes, we need to add one more package. So let me get into the yarn cd client, and let's say yarn, we need to add the React navigation. So for that, we're going to add the React router DOM, yarn add. So here, let's say yarn add React route hyphen router hyphen DOM. So this will add the React router DOM, so that we can able to add that all the React navigations inside our project. So let's go ahead. So first, what I need to do is, all I have to do is to get back to the index.js. So we need to wrap the complete applications into our router. So let's go ahead and import that. So import from let's say React router DOM. So I'm going to use the browser router. I'm going to import it in the name as router. Now I need to wrap this complete app inside the router, and this is supposed to be completely inside. All right, and let's save these changes, and now the entire stuff is inside over there. And then here I need to create our main route navigation over here. So what we need to do is, so let's go here and let's bring the routes first. Routes, make sure that is imported in the React router. Then inside here, I'm going to create the different route one by one. It's a self-closing tag, and I'm going to say path, which is going to be /start. Anything which is coming through /start, that means that's our home route. So element equals to, so this is the place where we need to define the components over here. So to do that, what I'm going to do is, all I have to go and create a new folder inside the source folder called components, and I'm going to create one more folder called container. So let's go here and create one more folder called container. So right click the folder called container. Okay, so we do have two different folders called components, and it should be plural. So let me rename it as containers. So inside the containers, so we can keep all our very big files, so very big containers and stuffs and everything. The small parts, we can keep it inside the components. So inside the component containers folder, I'm going to create home containers, home containers.jsx, and RAFC, save the changes, and I'm going to create one more file over here called index.js, and I'm going to export that over here. So all I have to say, export default as home container from / not from home container. Save the changes. Now container is being exported from this folder called container, so I don't have to import every time this object as a separate import statement. I can directly use it as an object import. All right, so that will avoid to import the multiple lines of import statements, so we can import it in a single line itself. So then what I'm going to do is all I have to go to the components folder and let me create a new file over here and name that file as header.jsx. And inside here, I'm just going to say RAFCE, say the changes, and inside the components also create one more file index.js and export that components from here. So export default header from /header.jsx. So I'll close the unnecessary files which is not necessary. Let's remove it and let's remove it. And here I need to bring that home container. So it's not showing the suggestion. So let's go ahead and import it manually from here. So import from containers, and I can bring that a home container and I can import it from here. All right, so now if you are saving it, that is supposed to bring our home container over here, because anything which comes through this specific route, it will load the home container. And this is the place where we need to bring our header. So I'm just going to say header. All right, so we need to import our header. Okay, so why it is not exporting? So export default as, oh my bad, I'm sorry, that is inside the components folder. So let's say components and let's bring the header component, say the changes. All right, now we do have our header component over here and our home container component over here. So just like the same way, all we have to do is to create the different routes. So for the time being, we are just going to focus on our header component and the home containers. Later, once we moving on to the different routes, we'll create each and every route one by one. All right, so let's get back to the header component. So for the header component, what we need to do, we need to design our logo. So we need to design our logo, and as the same way, we need to bring our this user profile sections over here. So let's go ahead and do that. So let me close everything except the header component. So first of all, I'm just going to delete all these things and I'm going to change this to header. So give the proper tag name, everything as a properly. So then what we need to do is we need to bring our logo, and as the same way, we need to bring our logo, and at the same way we need to bring our logo profile options and everything. So for this you need this image. So over here, so I do have that assets folder in the description, so in the description below. So please go ahead and copy and paste that assets folder inside your source folder. Inside the assets folder, I do have the CSS separately and the images separately, and the index.js, which is exporting that assets separately, each and everything, all the necessary files, the banner images which is necessary for that specific project. I exported everything from the assets folder, and you have all the necessary files over here, and including the CSS also for adding our custom slider and everything. All right, so please go ahead and download the assets folder from the description given below. All right, so and keep it inside the source folder, so don't make any mistakes over there. Keep it inside the source folder. All right then, so now what we need to do is, so I need to keep this, and if you notice that when I'm scrolling up a little bit, you can see the header color, it's became from the transparent to it's changing to a white color or something, right? So we need to fix that, then only we can able to understand how exactly it's been working and everything. All right, so let's do that later. So first we start doing the designs first. So I'm just going to say class name. So inside the header we have our image. So we do have two things, image section, and we do have our user profile section. All right, so these are the two sections that we do have. For logo sections, what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring this link tag which is coming from our React router DOM. So let's go ahead and import that, import from React router DOM, and let's bring that link tag inside. And whenever I'm clicking this should take me to the home route. So whenever I'm clicking that, it should take me to the home route. if I click this home page, so if I click this the logo, so that should take me to the home page. So every single time, that's the reason we are adding that. And here I need to bring that image tag. So let's bring that image, and basically we exported that image as a logo. So let me bring that logo, and again it's not taking that logo from the assets folder, so let's import it by manually. All right, so imported it. Then what we need to do is, so we need to customize the styles of it. So in this case, this is going to be main logo or something. All right, so once it's successfully done, then we need to add the custom styles over here. So if I save these changes, so now we have our logo over there. So what I need to do is I just need to change the class name. So width, I'm just going to keep it as 24, 2 by 4, 24. Then height, I'm just going to keep it as auto, and object should contain whatever the size, everything. I need to keep that image completely. So an object contain, that's perfectly fine. So then what we need to do is we need to bring that user profile section. So let's go ahead and start writing the user profile section. So basically what we need to do is, so this is going to be as a complete division. So we need to wrap this stuff, the stuff completely into a division. So if you have a look at it, so in case if the user is signed out, you can see it's showing only the login option. But if the user is signed in successfully, it's showing that the login with the login user profile, and along with that the upload option also. If the user is not signed in, you can't see that upload option, and as well as you can't see that user profile sections also. So to do that, what we need to do is, so we need to wrap that complete stuff into a single division. So I'm just going to say the class name as relative, and the cursor is going to be the pointer, and inside here I'm just going to bring that image tag, image, and basically this is the place where we are going to display that image and everything, right? So what we need to do is for the time being I'm just going to keep it empty. So class name, it's going to be rounded full, and width is going to be 10, and height is going to be 10, and object cover. All right, so and what we are supposed to do is all right, so currently we don't have any image over here, so that's the reason it's showing like this, because we don't have a, let's say, word apparatus. All right, so here currently we don't have this this user profile. So if there is no user profile, if there is no user, then what we need to do, we just need to, so for the time being I'm just going to say use state snippet. I'm going to create a user state just for the time being. If the user is null, I'm just going to, instead of loading this stuff, I'm just going to verify. Okay, so here let me cut it completely. I'm checking that user object. If that is a user object, then load this stuff. If the user object doesn't exist, load this stuff. So if that is user object, we need to bring this and we need to render it. And if there is no user object, all we have to do is to say like login with Gmail or something. So here I'm just going to say, for the time being I'm just going to say login. So use state is not included, so let's include it, save changes, and now it's showing as the login option over here. So let's bring that login button for the time being. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to make it as a division here, and inside this division, and I'm going to have two different options. One is the login with Google. If you have a look at it before logging in, here it will shows the option as like login with the Gmail sign, Gmail logo over there. So to do that, we need to install the React icon. So yarn add React icons. Let's install it. So that will download the React icons package and install it in your local machine. So it's downloading and installing it. Let it download and install. Then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to say over here class name. So basically that class name, it's going to be, I'm just going to keep it as a dynamic string literals because later we need to add a few more changes in it. So let me keep it as a dynamic string literals by opening it in the curly brackets and wrapping it with the backtick option. Then I'm just going to say flex item center. Everything should be in the center, and justify it should be in the center, and gap between each and every object should be true. And the border, we need to have the border, and the border color is going to be border gray 300, and padding left and right it's going to be 2 pixels. I enable the word wrap. Okay, 2 pixels. Then py top and bottom it's going to be 1, and rounded empty. So let's save the changes, and inside here I'm going to bring that FC Google icon, and I'm going to bring one more paragraph called login. All right, FC Google is not imported, so let's go and import it from React icons / FC, and we need to import that FC Google icon. Save the changes. Now FC Google still not defined. How come? Packages are added successfully. FC Google. All right, so here we go. So now we have that FC Google icon over here, and we have our login options also over there. So what I need to do, I need to add few more styles. So I'm just going to say backdrop blur as an empty. So whatever the layer which is dropping behind that button, it should be blurred a little bit, and the cursor is going to be a pointer cursor. Whenever I'm hovering it, I need a shadow. So on hover, I need a shadow, a medium. Then on active, if the button is active, I need to reduce the scale percentage to 95. Then transition all, ease in, out, and duration it's going to be 150 seconds. Save the changes. Now you can see that if I click this, it's having a nice active transitions over there. All right, so this is how we need to define it. If that menu option is not there, this is how it should supposed to looks like. So let's fix this main header properly. So let's go to the top section, and for this header I'm just going to say add the class name, and this is going to have a dynamic string literals. So basically, so I'm just going to keep it as a fixed location. It's supposed to be always in the top of everything, and it's always pinned to the left side inset. So inset x0. So to left and right it will always pinned together on the small devices. So basically on the small device, the px it should be 12, and on the large device the px it's supposed to be 32, and for an XL device the px px it's supposed to be px it's going to be 44, padding left and right. All right, the py it's going to be 4 for each and every screens. So then flex item center, but it should justify the 2 different objects between, so that it will push everything in the left and right side corners. Then it should be always in the top of every single layer. Then transition all, then duration it's going to be 300. So now you can see you have these 2 different objects over here. All right, so it's been pushed to the left and right, and it's perfectly in that positions. All right, so then next what we need to do is we need to fix this header options. You can see that when I'm hovering it, it's changing its colors, and it's properly fitting over there. So what I need to do is to do that, all I have to do is to let me go to the app.js or index.js, where it is. App.js. So this is the place where we are displaying the height as a full. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to customize this height as 200 VH or something. So now it is supposed to scroll. So it should increase height. It is not increasing. So let's keep this as 2000 pixels or something. Still the height is not increasing. Why? Let's keep it as it is. So it's taking the complete length. So what I need to do is I need to change this home router height. So class name width is going to be full and height it's going to be customized as 500 pixels. Let me customize it, and BG red with some color so that I can able to see this. Okay, so now if I change this to 5000, all right, so now it's scrolling up and down, so you can see that it's the color is changing right now. All right, so for just for the changing purpose, just to show you how exactly it's been working, the color changes and everything, how exactly it's working, just the purpose. For that particular purpose, I just increases the height a little bit. Later I'm just going to remove it everything. So to achieve that, what I need to do is I need to keep track that the scrolling, the window scroll event. So what I need to do is I need to create a function. Basically we are just going to create a function. All right, so basically we are just going to create a function over here. Let's say change color, that's a function I'm just going to create. All right, so inside this function I'm just going to say if, so if the type of window it's not equals to, only if the type of window it's not is equals to undefined. So basically we will get this error if you're trying to do this the same stuff in the Next.js. The window object will it always throws an undefined because it's a server side rendering. But if you're working on the client side, so we need to make sure so that the window object is not an undefined. That's the purpose we are adding that particular thing. If the window object is not undefined, then I need to get that window object. Then I need to check that scroll y-axis. That point should be greater than or equals to 1. If it is greater than or equals to 1, then I need to change the state. Else I need to revert the state color. All right, so I'm just going to create one more object. So use state snippet color, set color. By default the color object is going to be false. So if that is greater than 1, that means 100%, 100 pixels, then I'm just going to say set color, it's going to be true, or else the set color is going to be false. Save the changes. So these things should happen automatically whenever if the type of this window object is undefined. If it is type of the window object is not undefined, then this should add an event listener, window.add event listener, and that listener event is going to be a scroll event, and whenever the scroll event is been happening, trigger this function, change the color. All right, so now whenever this event is happening, the color will get changed. So if the color is getting changed, what I need to do is by default, so I'm just going to say dollar open the curly brackets, if the color is true, BG white, else I'm just going to say BG transparent, because by default it is supposed to be transparent, but when the color is getting changed, it's supposed to be the background color should be white. So now it is transparent. When I'm moving it, you can see that it's changing the color to white color. By default it is transparent. When I'm scrolling up a bit, it's changing the color to white color. All right, so that's how this event is getting triggered. Every time whenever the window is getting scrolled, we are changing the color according to it. All right, so let me go here and let me delete this background color, so I can able to, I know that it's working perfectly fine. All right, so then what else we need to do is, so basically we need to load that banner section, that image section. so that you don't need to every time change the color and trying it by yourself. So basically I'm just going to delete this, and here I'm going to like what we can say, we need to bring that image section, we need to bring this specific image section over here. So let me delete this, and what I'm going to do here is to create one more division, and class name it's going to be, so we need to this should always take the screen width, and height should always be 420. Okay, so basically it's not showing me the height properties and everything because we need to add some few more configurations inside the tailwind config.js. So just copy the from the description, so I just copy it and I'll just paste it inside here, copy and paste it inside the extend section over here. So you can copy this code from the description below and we can keep it over here. So basically I have all the necessary color properties and all the height properties, width properties, and the margin sections, literally everything. All right, so here I'm just going to use the height as 420. So you can see the height 420 property which we created. Then what we need to do, we need to keep this as a flex and item center and justify center, and the position is going to be a relative position. All right, inside here I'm going to load that image. So basically the image source, it's going to be the banner image, so banner image which is coming from your assets, and this image should always take the width as 100%, and height is also be 100%, and object should cover the entire screen at all costs. So now this is supposed to load it over here. Why it's not loading? Let's inspect the elements. Main, we have this object. Where is that image? Why it's not taking? Why the banner image? All right, so the problem is because of this specific height which we returned. So if I delete this, so it will what? If I say this, you can see it's not coming over here. That is because of that specific height. So let me delete that, and if I now you can see that image over here. So basically it's loading it in the center of the screen, but it's not supposed to be in the center of the screen, and that issue is probably because of in our app.js. So maybe that mistake it's might coming from let's column item center and justify it in the starting location. Why it's coming over here now? This is the main with the screen, and the minimum height, it's going to be the screen height. Yeah, so basically I fixed the height of the screen, so the minimum height only it's going to be screen. All right, so that's fixed the issue. So that will push this image to the top of the section. So now even if I'm adding the height as something like 5000 pixels, so let's see what's happening. Nothing changes. Now you can see we have still having that image at the top of the section. All right, so now we can see that it's working fine, but the problem is I can't see the name, the login option over here. When I scroll up I can able to see it, but normally I can't see it. So we need to fix that issue. So let's get back to the header section, and right after this, the place where I'm displaying this class name and everything. So let's go ahead and fix that issue. So where is the header? 1 second. So here, now what we need to do is, so I'm just going to add some styles for that login options and everything. So basically the text size is going to be it's going to be base size. So basically we are going to keep the text size as text base, and then text primary color, which is always supposed to be in the primary color. But normally you can't see this text color. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to cut this completely, dynamic string literals, and paste it. So if that color object is true, then it's going to be text primary. Otherwise, it's going to be text gray 200. So it's supposed to work right now. Text. What's the issue? Text base, if the color property is true, the text primary it's working. If the color property is false, why we do have this? Yeah, now it's working. The problem is because of that extra double quotes over there. Damn, we're having a lot of mistakes now. All right, so now the issue is solved. Now you can see, even if you're hovering it, and if you're hovering it here, it shows that exact options and everything. So now you can see that we have that issue, that problem fixed and everything. So then what we need to do is we need to go for the authentication purpose. So let's go ahead and create a new project called in the Firebase over here. So go to the console and create a new project in the Firebase. So add a new project, and I'm going to name this project as YouTube Pixabay or clone or something. So I'm just going to create this, and I don't need this Google Analytics. Close it. So this will take a while to create a project, like maximum 10 to 15 seconds. So please wait until this project creation is successfully done. So basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a login option. When I click that login, it should authenticate the user to our using our Gmail account. Then we can able to get the user details completely. All right, so let's go ahead and do that. So click the continue. So now we are inside the project. So expand this, where it is here, expand this one, and here go to the build and go to the authentication stuff. So basically we are going to use the Gmail authentication provider. So Firebase gives you the functionalities that you can able to log in by using email or Facebook, Game Center. There are lots of authentication providers over here. So in this case, we are going to use the Google. So enable it and choose your Gmail account and click save. So that will create the web client and web client secret. You can configure it with your ID so that you can use it inside your project. All right. This might take a while. So now we do have this options over here. Then what we need to do is go to the project settings, and you need to create a web app. Click this options to create a web app. So here, give a name for your web app over here to register it. In this case, I'm just going to type it Pixabay YouTube-Pixabay clone. All right, so I don't need to set up the hostings and everything. Later we can worry about the hosting problems and everything. Just for the time being, created. Then we need to add this Firebase inside your project. So let's go ahead and add the Firebase inside our project, and all you have to say yarn add Firebase. So that will add the Firebase, and go to the console. And now here you can see all the API key stuffs and everything. So basically we need to keep all these stuffs completely secured, because if you are trying to push this into your GitHub account, this will throw an issue. So we are not supposed to keep all these stuffs over here. So we need to keep all these items as a secured way. So it's still downloading. So all I have to do is to go here and create a new folder called config, and inside this config folder I'm going to create a new file called firebase.config.js. right? So now we do have the firebase config.js. So let me copy this, copy it completely, and I'm going to paste it over here. So basically what we need to do is we need to keep all this, the API keys completely in a secured way. So to do that thing, what we need to do is we need to create an environment variable. Then we need to wrap all these stuffs and we need to put it inside that environment variable. So let's go ahead and create a new environment variable inside our source folder. That is supposed to be inside our root folder. So basically right click your client folder and create a new file called .env. So here all I have to say is to react_app_API_key. So instead of doing this, what we can do is copy this stuff completely from here and paste it over here. All right. So then I need to change all these stuffs into equal to sign. Now everything is changed into equal sign. Then all I have to, before each and every letter, I need to create it a react_app, not like this, _app and underscore. Then we need to change it these stuffs one by one. So basically I'm just going to change this to API_key. This is going to be auth_domain. This is going to be project ID, and this is going to be storage bucket, and this is messaging sender ID, and this is going to be app_ID. Save the changes. And now here, instead of all these stuffs, we just need to replace each and everything one by one. So hold your Alt key and then delete everything, select everything, and you can able to create the multi-cursor editor. And I'm going to say process.env. So what we can do is, I'm just going to copy this stuffs completely from here, replace it here. So make sure that you are using the exact same keys from here, like this. So instead of repeating the same steps again and again, I'm just copying it and pasting it. So make sure that you are using the exact same variables from there and here. Otherwise it will raise an issue when you're trying to configure your Firebase app. All right, so now we successfully installed the Firebase inside. Then what we need to do is we need to import certain packages. So let's import from Firebase/app. So I need to get the complete apps details. So let's get the apps details completely. Then I need to get the app information. Then I need to initialize the app. These are the things that we needed. Then we need to get the authentication information also. So let's go ahead and import that also from the Firebase/auth. So using from this package, I need to get the authentication information. So get auth. Then once you are having the Firebase configuration, I need to create the app. So I need to get that app's information. If that app's information, if the apps.length is greater than 0, that means already the app it's been initialized. If that is being successfully initialized, already get that app information. Otherwise, initialize this app with this Firebase configuration. So that will create a new app with that specific configuration. Then all I have to do is to export that application. export that app. So along with that, I need to get the Firebase auth also. So I'm just going to get that Firebase authentication information. Then I'm going to get that auth information from our application. So this will gives all the provider information over here. Then I need to export that auth also. So now I need to restart our server. So to make sure whether that the environment file is loaded successfully. So just restart your, whenever you're working with the env file, so you need to restart your server. So now let's head back to the header.jsx. So whenever I'm clicking that sign in option, okay, so when I'm clicking that sign in option, all I have to do is to call a method like a sign in with Google option or something. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a method. So this is the place where we are having, so I'm just going to say on click over here. On click, if I click that division, I need to call sign in with Gmail method. This is the customized user method. I'm going to create that method over here. So const, and this method is supposed to be asynchronous method. It should wait until the function, until the user selected the Gmail account. The function should wait until all those processes being successfully done. All right, so I'm just going to make sure that function will wait until it successfully selected and authenticated. So I need to get two information. One, what kind of provider I'm going to use. So const provider is equals new Google auth provider. Basically, we are using Google authentication provider, which is coming from your Firebase auth. Then, all right, so that's the informations we needed. Then await. So I need to wait. So I'm just going to say sign in with pop-up. So basically, we do have two different methods to sign in. You can say sign in with pop-up and sign in with redirect. So I need to show you what kind of user record that we are having. So I'm just going to say inspect the elements and go to the console. For the time being, the console is completely empty. So I'm just going to say sign in with SIG and sign in with pop-up. So I need to supply our Firebase provider information. Then I need to supply our provider. So that will gives us a promise. So dot then we'll get the result from here. Callback function. So I'm just going to say console.log result. Let's see what exact result that we got. Inside the result, we will get the user object and we'll get the provider data also. That gives you the array of objects. So let's save the changes. Now if I click this, that should bring the pop-up. If I click this, we are getting an error, illegal URL. Firebase is initialized successfully and we configured it, and we are calling this method sign with Gmail. So asynchronous method, and this is going to wait. So let me refresh this. If I click this, we are getting an error. And caught browser proper or sign in with redirect. Let's try that one. I click this. Auth API key is not valid. So okay, so we are getting an issue with our API key now. It's a problem. This is the place where we are getting an issue. Okay, so maybe because of this comma, I forgot to delete this comma. Save the changes, Control J, and restart your server. Because whenever you're making some changes in your key, so you need to delete all those actions. So I'm just going to revert this change back. Going to keep the sign in with pop-up itself. Compiling the changes, still waiting for the local host, still it's compiling. So hit the login. Now we can see we are getting that login with pop-up option. So it doesn't matter even if you have small dot or small comma over there, that will make an issue. So use your Gmail account. So that will now it's going to authenticate it, and now you can see we are getting our user profile image and everything. So now what I need to do is, all I have to do is to create this user. So whenever the user signed in successfully, so we need to store this details into our server. So basically we do have our own server. Inside our server we do have this user. If you expand the user, you can see we have the display name, and we have that email, and we have that photo URL. Then we do have that user ID, which these fields. So I need to basically create all these user informations into our what we can say, we need to basically we are trying to create a new user, and we need to store that user informations into our Sanity. So now this user, we will get this user information only if the user is successfully successfully logged in successfully. So but every time when the website is being refreshed also, we need to make sure that these things is working perfectly, right? So what I'm going to do is, I'm just going to change this sign in with the redirect. Then I'm going to save these changes. Then now I need to get back to the app.js. So inside the app.js, now what I need to do is, I need to create a use effect function. I need to create the use effect hook. Open it. This effect hook will take two different parameters. One is the array functions, and another one is array of dependencies. So inside here, so what I'm going to do is, I'm going to bring that Firebase auth. Basically we are going to import that authentication which exported from the firebase.config.js. We are importing it. Then on auth state change, whenever there is a change in the authentication state, I need to get that result. Okay, I need to get that result. If I do have the result object in my hand, then I need to say console.log, we can say user. Then I need to get that user object. So result dot provider data of 0. So now you can see, even if I'm refreshing, I will get that data. So don't worry about this. It's showing the two different times, because use effect at the development mode, it will run two times, but when it's pushed to the production mode, it will run only one time only. So don't worry about that. Now I have this user object in my hand. Now all I need to do is I need to configure the Sanity in my project. So to configure the Sanity in your project, so what you need to do is, you need to install two different packages. So let's download that packages first. So I'm just going to say yarn at Sanity /client. So we need the Sanity client, and we need the Sanity image URL also to process the Sanity images and everything. /Sanity image URL :URL. These are the two different packages that we need to download: Sanity client and Sanity image URL. So let's wait until it successfully gets done. All right, then. So now the Sanity client is successfully installed. So then what we need to do is, so in the root folder, that means inside your source folder, we need to create a new file called Sanity. So let's go ahead and create that file. So here, let me collapse everything, expand the client. Inside the source folder, sanity.js, and here we need to get that Sanity information. So I'm going to bring the two different objects here like this. We need the Sanity client to create the client, and we need the image URL for the image URL builder. So we are going to use those two different options. So then what I need to do is, I need to create the client. So const client is equals to create client, and you need to supply the array of details over here. So these details, you need to give the project IDs and stuffs and everything, so we can get that details from your server. So I'm just going to say cd server and Sanity. You can say, let's start the Sanity server. So yarn before that, I can say Sanity manage to open the project detail. So that will opens the Sanity project details over here. All right, so now we can see this is our project ID. So I'm just going to say project ID colon, it's a sim string. So let me copy this ID and let me paste it over here. That's the project ID. And the data set, basically the data set what we are using, that's a production data set. Okay, so the data set which we are using, that's a production data set. This is the data set that we are using. So data set is going to be production. So type the exact same name without any spelling mistakes. That's the data set that we are using. All right, production. Then you need to give the API version. So API version. So basically you can type your current date 2023 hyphen 23 hyphen 05. All right. So then we need to add one more link over here, use CDN. Basically, once you deployed your server in a live URL, if you want to use, instead of localhost, if you want to use that live URL, you need to use this link. But for time being, I'm just going to hide it because I'm going to use the localhost only. All right, so let me save these changes. Then what you need to do is you need to get the access token. You need to get the access token. So here you need to add that URL so that then only you can access the APIs and everything. So basically we are trying to access that project in our local URL, this local host. So let me copy this and go to the Sanity over here and add cross origin and add that URL and make sure that you are enabling all the credentials for that. So save it. So that will add the React localhost to in the cross origin platform. So it will doesn't throws that issue whenever you're trying to call the API. It doesn't throws that issue. And do the same thing for your access token also. So this is going to be admin. So I'm the admin who is going to have all kind of permissions and everything. So here access to deploy Sanity. So in this case, I'm going to keep the editor permission read and as well as the write the data into our Sanity. So I'm just going to save it. So this is my access token, copy it, and I'm going to keep it inside of the React environment folder. So let's say React underscore app underscore Sanity underscore token equals to double quotes, paste that token. Save the changes and make sure that you're restarting your server. So restart your server so that you can able to access this token in your, so that token will make some changes over there. So then I need to say token is going to be process.env .react sanity.token. So by this way, we can make sure that we can keep all our tokens and the details, everything in a secured way. So now I have that. So then what I need to do is I need to create a builder. So basically we need to access a builder to create to generate the URL for our image, which is coming from the Sanity. So const builder, it's going to be image URL builder. So I need to supply that client app information. Then I need to export const URL for. This is a custom hook which we are creating for our own purposes. It's a function which we are creating for our own purpose. URL, it's a function. Then I'm getting the source. Then using that builder dot image, I'm going to extract that image and I'm going to get that source. Okay, so this is what that we are basically doing over here. Save the changes. So this is just for our extracting the CDN link from our image, right? So if you're directly trying to access, if you're receiving the from the Sanity, if you're receiving as an image object to extract that CDN link, you need to use the builder to extract that image CDN link. All right, so that's the reason we are having that builder and the URL format there. All right, so now what you need to do is basically in this app.js, we are getting this provider data. So I need to save this provider data into our Sanity, right? So let me start the local host of our server. So yarn developer, so that will trigger the local host of our server, and you can see that takes us to the Sanity studio. And inside this Sanity studio, you can see we have this user object, user currently the user details, it's completely empty except this, the dummy information which I created. So basically I'm just going to delete this information where it is. Delete it. I'm going to delete that document completely. So it's showing that it's already referred in this two different thing. So let me keep it anyways, because otherwise I need to delete those two posts also. All right, so let me keep it as it is. So here now what I need to do is, so I'm just going to say export const create new user. Basically we are trying to create a new user, and that is going to be asynchronous method, and inside this method I will get that user data object. So basically we are trying to send this user data object into this method. So using this I'm going to create a document doc. So inside the doc I'm going to have a field called underscore id. That's the reference id which is created by the Sanity. So I'm going to change the default id into our own customized id, because inside that we are going to supply this user id. So data dot user id uid. Okay, so and then we are going to access the type. What kind of document type that we are trying to access? We are trying to access the schema type of users, this specific users. So we are trying to access that. So comma underscore type object is going to be users. That's the document type that we are trying to access. Then the rest of the field is going to be exactly the same, so which is going to be the user id, photo url, display email name, and display name, email. Everything is going to be exactly the same. I'm just going to copy and paste it over here. So take your time and then type it exactly as it is from here. So once you have the document in your hand, what I'm going to say, await. Wait until I'm creating a new client. So using the client object, I'm going to create a new create if not exist. It's not create if not exist. I'm trying to create a new user only if that new user is not exist. So I'm going to send that documentation over here, doc, create this doc. Then once you have that successfully created, return that data. I'm just going to say return that response. Save the changes. So now what I need to do is I need to call this method. So whenever the user is being logged in successfully, so over here I'm trying to create a new user. Create new user from the Sanity. Then I'm sending that provider details over here, result of provider details into this method. That's the data, and that will going to log in, and that will gives the return data. If the user everything is successfully logged in, I'm just going to say console. For the time being, I'm just going to say console.log new user created. All right, save these changes. Now if I refresh this, it's loading and we are getting an error. API version, it's showing an issue. So Sanity over here, API version is showing an issue. Why? Dataset is the production, API version. Oh my bad, this is supposed to be month 05 and 23. My bad, I'm sorry. All right, so now everything is fine, no issues over there, and you can see we are getting a message as new user created. And if you go here, and you can see now the virtual Ravi is there, and you can see this is the photo URL. Contact, we don't have any contact, and we have this Galaxy, and I have that ID. So my user profile is successfully created. So you can see that, right? So now the user profile is successfully created. So I need to repeat the same stuff. I'm just going to copy this. Every time whenever the user, even he's logging in also, we need to repeat the same stuff over here. So I'm just going to delete this. I need to say copy this object and paste it over here. Optional rendering, delete it and import this package. Now the user is created message will be here. All right, so now we logged in successfully and we successfully created the user. But what's the problem is, even though now you are successfully logged in, what we have to do is we have to, once the user successfully logged in, we have to push it to our React Redux store so that we can access that user object globally throughout anywhere. So that's what we need to do next. So what we have to do is we need to install two different packages. So we have to install two different packages, which is Redux and React Redux. So let's say yarn add Redux, React-Redux. These are the two different packages that we need to supposed to install. So it's successfully added. So then what I need to do is I need to go to our source folder. Let me collapse everything. And inside the source folder, I'm going to create a new folder called context. Inside this folder, I'm going to create one more folder called actions. Inside that folder, context folder, I'm going to create one more folder called reduces. And inside this context folder, I'm going to create a new file called index.js. So inside the actions folder, I'm going to create a new file called user actions.js. So basically here we are going to export different functions, which is going to be the user actions. So we need to set the user in our React store, and we need to get the user details, and we need to set the user object as a null. So I'm going to say export const set underscore user, that's the function, and we need to send the user object inside that function. So basically that is going to return two different objects. One, it's going to be the type, what exact type that the user it's been trying to trigger it. So let's copy it and paste it. That's a user, and I need to send that object along with our action. So basically this is the action triggered by the user. So whenever I'm calling the set user, he will send the user detail, this detail. So I need to pass this action to our reducer. So I will pass the action and along with the user object which the user passed to this action. So these two things will be passed to the reducers. Then the reducer will react according to the action which we are passing. So then I'm going to copy this function and I'm going to paste it two more times. So basically it's not going to be set, it's going to be get. Copy this, copy and paste it. And when you're getting the informations, I don't need to set any object, so I don't need this. And this is going to be set to user null to remove the user from the state. I'm simply going to send the value as null, so I don't need this object. So save these changes. So this action is to set new user in our Redux store. So we are passing the user detail, and this action is to get the user detail from our Redux store. And this action is to set the user object as a null. So we are sending the user null and we are sending the user data as null. These are the actions. Now we need to write the reducers, user reducer. So we need to create one more file inside the reducer called user reducer.js. So let's go to and write the user reducer. Const user reducer is equals to, we need to send two different parameters. One, the initial state. The initial state of the user is going to be null. Then the action which is triggered by the user. Okay, the initial state of the user is going to be null. And the action, what kind of action? If the user sending the action dot type, we are going to send the action dot type inside our switch case. So case type is equals to set user. If the user sending the action type as set user, then we need to return the action dot user object. So if the user sending the type like this, we need to set the user. And so we are returning that user object to our Redux store. So that's the object it's being written. So in case if the user is saying get user, if the user action is saying get user, so basically we need to return the state, because we are trying to access whatever the value which is inside the state. Then if the user is trying to send the set user object as null, so what I need to do, I need to return the user object which is exactly as it is. If the user is it's null, so we need to send the user object as null, because by the time when we are sending it from here, we are returning the data as null. So that's the reason I'm returning the exact same object. So if none of the options are coming, what I need to do, I need to return the default state, whatever it is. Then none of the options are coming, I just need to return the state exactly. So by the end, I need to export this defaultly as user reducer. All right, so now the reducer is done. Now the action is done. So in a real-time project, you might have a n number of reducers. So what you need to do is it's better to combine everything together. So that's the reason we are using this package from the combine reducer from the Redux option. So basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to create my own reducer over here. Is equals to my reducer equals to combine reducer, open the bracket, an array of other functions. So initially I'm going to send the user state as a user reducer. So user reducer will be returned as user state over here. So save these changes and you need to export your reducer. Export default as my reducer. Save the changes. Now everything is being exported. Now all you have to do is to get back your app.js. Where is your app.js? So here basically you need to create here, no, not in the app.js. We need to go to the index.js. Go to the client index.js, control P client index.js in the client/src over here. So what I need to do is, so basically I need to create the Redux store over here by using the create store method by using the Redux option. So right after here, I'm going to create a store. So const my store equals to create store, open it, and I'm going to send my own reducers which I created. So every time whenever the Redux, if you're working with Redux, I need to keep on monitor with our Redux developer tools. So if you want to install this React developers tools, so search for Redux dev tools. So if you search for Redux dev tools, you can see this GitHub link. So click that. And if you scroll down, you can understand what is the GitHub tool, the developer tools, and how to use it in your Google Chrome browser. So click the browser extension and installation configurations, and there you can find for Chrome, so or Safari or Firefox. So click this, and that will take you to the Redux extension, so the Chrome extension, so that you can download that Redux dev tools and install it in your extensions. Then if you scroll down, you can see how to configure by using it to our Redux store. So I'm just going to copy this line completely from here, and I'm going to paste it straight away over here, right like this. Then save the changes. Now I need to wrap this complete application inside a provider. So basically we need a provider to provide our store throughout the components, right? So I'm going to install that, import that package from the Redux store called provider. So provider is the component, so we are going to wrap that complete store and our app here. Store object, not this one, store object is going to be my store. Save the changes. Now if everything is working perfectly as it's supposed to be, refresh it. So we are getting an error because not use reducer. Somewhere I made a mistake. Instead of user reducer, I made a mistake as use reducer. User reducer over here, where it is context here, not use reducer. This is supposed to be user reducer. That's the reason. Now it's imported. Now the problem is solved, I think so. If everything is working perfectly, you can able to see this green icon. That means your Redux developer tool captured your Redux store, and you can see we have that user object as null because that's the initial value of our state. So what I need to do is now I have to push our user details into that state. this is the place. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the use dispatch hook, because we need to dispatch our action to our store. So const dispatch equals to use dispatch. So that's the hook. And once this new user is successfully created, this is the place that I need to send that user informations to our Redux store. So all I'm just going to say is to dispatch dot dispatch. I'm just going to say set user. Basically that's the action which is coming from our user action. Set user, open it, that's a method, and I need to supply that result colon question mark dot provide as data of 0. If I save these changes, now the user data will be pushed to our Redux store. You can see that we have that data right now in our hand. Now I can use this data throughout the component whenever I needed it. So now I have this data, so I'm just going to copy this exact same line whenever the user is successfully logged in with our Gmail. So this should return over there also. So here also you need to get that dispatch link, copy that dispatch object and import that use dispatch, refresh it. All right, that issue is being successfully solved. Now what I need to do is I need to get that user object from the user state. So instead of this user state, I'm just going to get const. Okay, so const user is equals to use selector. That's the hook which provided by our React store. So I'm going to get the state object completely, and I need only the state.user object, because that's the user object that we do have right now inside our Redux store. So let's get that object. So now you can see that it's showing that image, because now we do have the active data in our user. So what I need to do is, instead of leaving it as empty, if the user does have that profile, of course every user do have the user profile, this photo URL, because we are using only this photo URL only, that Gmail login only. Of course you will get that photo URL object. So user object dot photo URL. So use this conditional rendering, otherwise it will throw us as undefined initially, because first our component will get mounted, then only you will get the data, because it's a client side rendering. To avoid the undefined issue, use the conditional rendering over there. Save these changes, and now you will get your image over there. Look at that. And I'm just going to add few more things over here, which is going to be the referrer policy. So referrer policy, it's going to be no referrer. So enable this option, because that sometimes the user profile will not load it properly from the Gmail. So that to avoid that issue, use this referrer policy as a no referrer. All right. So now we have that, what is that? We are having our user details, user image over there. So right after that, what I need to display is I need to bring that upload option also. So this is the place where is our user object is being successfully finished over here. This is the place. So here I need to bring only if that is a user object, then I need to bring that button option. So basically, yes, one second. This complete stuff, basically what we need to do is this complete stuff should be inside a division, so that we can keep the two different objects together, because right now this is separately. So if I add upload over here, what happens, this image will be pushed over here. So I'm going to wrap that upload button and this image into a single division, a common division. That's what I did. Okay, so here I'm just going to bring a button which is going to be an upload button. So I'm just going to bring that link tag one more time, link. And whenever the user clicks this link, we need to navigate that user to new post. new post slash upload. This is the link that we are trying to push the user. Okay, and it's the name is going to be upload. Save the changes. Now you can see we have that upload link over there, and since it's inside a common division, so what we need to do is we need to say this division as class name, which is going to be flex item center and justify center, and gap between it's going to be 2. Save the changes. Now we have the gap, enough gap over there. All right, so then what I need to do, I need to upload, I need to change the some class names for this. So class name is going to be px padding left and right, it's going to be 4, and padding top and bottom it's going to be 2, and rounded it's going to be full. All right, and the text size is going to be base. Now we can see some changes over there, and font is going to be semi bold, and the text is going to be the primary color, and the cursor is going to be the pointer, and bg, the background color is going to be bg emerald 200 or something, 200. And whenever I'm forwarding it, I'm just going to say bg emerald, it's going to be 300. Save the changes. Now we can see we have that upload button over there. All right, so when I click this, I need to bring that navigation, that menu option. If you see here, if I click this option, you can see we have some navigational options over there. So that's what we need to do now. So that thing you need to do it right over here, this place. This is the place where we are having that divisions. So this is the place we need to bring that options and everything. So let's go ahead and do that menu option. So what I'm going to do is this is the place, right? This is the image is being completed. So here division, I'm going to create a division. So this division is going to be in the absolute location. So basically this is the division which is going to be in an absolute location. So class name is going to be absolute, and it should be always in the right side. It's fixed to the right side of this division, right? 0. And from the top, I'm just going to keep it 12, rounded MD, shadow MD, and the width I'm just going to mention it as 64, and then px is going to be 4, py is going to be 3, and bg color, it's going to be a customized color. Okay, so let me copy that color code, and I'm just going to paste it over here like this. That's the color, and everything is going to be from the flex column direction, item center and justify center, and gap between everything is going to be 3. Save the changes, and now you can see we have a nice black color over here, or not a pure black color, a dark blue black color or something. Inside here, I'm going to bring that user object, which is from our user state. So I'm going to bring that user state over here like this. Now it will shows the username over here. So when I click this, you can see we are seeing this user object. So that's what we are getting exactly over here. But this is not supposed to be in the, so this is, should be item start. Now you can see everything in the left side column. All right, not center, it should be item start. All right, so then what I'm going to do is, so basically this stuff over here, this is a group of menu options. So whatever I'm having, the my media, upload, statistics, profile. If you go here, for instance, if I go to my media, we can see these are the group of menu options that we do have. So here also I need to repeat the same stuff, and here also I need to repeat the same stuff. So avoiding repeating the same stuff again and again. So what I can do is, so I can literally create a utilities folder, and I can basically maintain that unique menus over there. So what I need to do is, I'm going to create a new folder called utils, and inside this utils folder, I'm going to create a new file called supports.js. All right, so here I need to create an array, export an array. So I'm just going to copy that array completely, copy it and paste it. So you can see we have the my name as the URL, the menu name is media, and the slug, basically slug is nothing but when I click that menu, that's taking to me that specific URL. So that's the slug which I created over here. All right, so it's working perfectly. So then what we need to do is unique identifier. So every time I don't want to type the ID as 1001, 1002 or something. So we need to create a unique identifier by ourselves. To do this, what you need to do is you need to install a package called what's that package name? UUID, I think so. UUID or UUID4, UUID. So we need to install that package called UUID. So let's, where is that? Come on. Yeah, here it is. So yarn add UUID. So add this package inside your client folder. Once you successfully add that package, you need to import that package from UID. We are going to get that the version 4, and we are going to keep it inside this the name as UUID4. Save the changes. Now we have this main menu, so I need to render this main menu inside our header tag. So this is the place. Right after here only I need to render our that main menu option. So if I do have that main menu, if I do have some data inside the main menu, then I need to render it by using that map function. So I'm going to get that each menu and I'm going to render it. So don't give the normal parenthesis. That is not a normal functional, because this is a component. We are trying to render a component. Use the normal brackets over here. So I'm going to get that link, and inside here I'm going to bring that menu name. So menu dot name. Then every time it should be unique. So key is going to be menu dot ID, and 2, it's need to navigate to somewhere. So curly brackets, so slash new post. Whenever the user clicks that, it should take the user to new post. Then slash, it should append our slug over here, slug. All right, then I need to add some styles for it. So class name, it's going to be text base basically, and the text color is going to be gray 300. Save the changes. So right now it's supposed to render it, but it's not doing anything. Here we go. You can see now we are getting the details and complete thing. Okay, so now if you are refreshing it, you might notice that we are getting that slight delay unloading that data, because that's because of the client side rendering. So during that thing, what we need to do, we need to add some placeholder options and everything. That we'll do it later. And right now we added that menu option. Then what I need to do is I need to bring one straight line right after here, just like this. So that will bring a straight line over there. Then I need to add the logout option. So I'm going to bring the logout option. So on click, whenever I'm clicking it, I'm going to call a method to logout successfully. So const logout is equals, and that function is supposed to be an asynchronous function. So async arrow function. Then await Firebase auth dot sign out, and dot then the promise. If it is successfully executed, then all we have to say dispatch set the user as null. So dispatch set user null. We don't want the user object should be there, so we need to set the user object null. Once it's successfully done, we need to navigate the user to the home route, because it doesn't matter where the user is being sign out. Once the user successfully signed out, we need to push the user to the home route. So const navigate equals to use navigate hook, which is provided by the React router. Then here I need to say navigate the user to this specific route. That means the home route. If everything is done, then replace the URL true. Save the changes. Now you have this logout option. If I click this, now the user is successfully logged out, and you don't have that user object inside our menu option. And even if you're refreshing, this login. If I click this login, that user is successfully logged out. And now if I click this post option, he will be navigated to the home route, and we are getting it's loading. And here we go, we got that user object and we got that user details over here. All right, so this menu functionality, it's not supposed to display every single time. So what we need to do is we need to hide that menu functions. So what I need to do is, so I need to display this main menu only if my state object is active. Only if my state object is active, I'm supposed to display this menu option, this division, complete division. This division is supposed to be displayed only if my main menu is active. So I'm just going to cut this stuff completely from here. So this is for user menu options. All right, and here I'm just going to create a new state right after here. Use state snippet is menu. By default it's going to be false. So here, if is menu option is true, then I need to render this menu option. Save this changes. Now that will be removed. So what I need to do is on click, whenever I'm clicking this image, on click, I need to set that is menu option state to true or not is menu. That means if it is true, we will set it active. If it is false, we set it as true. Save the changes. Now if I click this, it will come. If I click it again, it will go on like this. All right, so now everything is working perfectly fine. So, and this menu needs to be deactivated even if I move outside of this box. If I bring my cursor outside of this box, this menu needs to be deactivated, right? So what I need to do is so this is the place. So I'm just going to say on mouse leave event. So I'm going to call the on mouse leave event. I'm going to copy this method and I'm going to paste it. I'm going to set this method as a false. So now if I click this, it will come inside. If I bring my mouse outside, that menu will be disappeared. All right, so now we successfully did that, all the functionalities and everything. The only thing that we have to do it over here is to load that main loader. That's what we are supposed to do. So to bring that main loader, what we need to do is I'm going to create one more component over here. I'm going to say main loader.js and RAFCE, save the changes. All right, so what we need to do is, so in the state, in the header, that is the app over here. So I'm going to say use state snippet is loading. By default it's going to be false. So this is the place where we are rendering all our objects and everything, right? So if the complete data it's been rendering, so I don't want to display this complete stuff so here, so I'm just going to say if is loading, then display this stuff, otherwise display this React fragments. So paste it. If it is not loading only, we need to display all these things. So we need to import it, and if it is loading, I'm going to bring that main loader over here. Okay, main loader, which is coming from our, we are not exported that thing, that's the reason it's imported separately. Let's get to the index, and here we need to export it. So basically it's going to be main loader, and let me copy this and let me paste it here, save the changes, and from there we need to bring that main loader and let's import that main loader and save the changes. Now the issues, everything, it's been resolved. All right, so what I need to do is here I need to say set is loading as true. So once the user the user effect started rendering, the set state will become true, so that it will start rendering the main loader. Once it successfully dispatched the user object, set interval to 2 seconds. Right after immediately 2 seconds, I need to set that is loading object as false. So false. Now if I refresh it, it's showing that main loader, the new user is created. Now you can see it's showing that object. So we need to customize this main loader. So what I can say here is, so basically inside the main loader, in the assets folder under the image folder, you can see we have this loader.svg. Basically that's the loader svg that we are trying to bring it inside. So I'm going to add that loader svg. So basically this main loader is going to be fixed. Always it's going to be fixed, and it's going to take the complete pin to the complete all the corners. Then it's going to be flex, item center, justify center, and backdrop, blur, media. And inside that division I'm going to bring one image source, img. So let me enable the word wrap so that you can see it. Okay, inside this image source I'm going to bring that loader image, which is going to be loader, which we already exported inside our assets folder. And if I say this changes, now whenever if I refresh this, you can able to see this loader animation. Then you have your data. Bingo. So now we successfully logged in, we successfully authenticated the user. Come on, log out. So we successfully authenticated the user and we logged out the user from the user profile, and we already saved the details into our user profile. You can see it doesn't create the user multiple times. It does create the user only one time. That's because we created the user only if the user does not exist. So we successfully created the user in our data and it's stored successfully, and we finished the authentication part and the navigation part and the main loader part. So I hope you understand today's session. If you have any questions in this session, just drop your questions in the comment sections and I will help you out. Okay, and stay tuned for the next upcoming sessions.